Welcome back to V8 Creative and part 53 of the Ultima RS build, and on this episode we're installing the final drive. Yes, welcome back to the Dean Den and another all-day pass. And yes, what a day we've got in store. Lots of spannering for you. So the focus will be connecting that 6-speed Porsche transaxle, that takes a bit of saying, to those huge rear wheels by means of two high tensile drive shafts. So without further ado, let's get over to the back of the RS and start spannering. Drive shafts, clearly there's only one here, I've got one over there, and also the fixing bolts and washers to fix them to the rear hubs and also the transaxle. So let's crack this open. The bolts for the other side. Let's just and there we go. Now what's nice about these drive shafts, they come pre-coated, they're not going to rust, which is great. Also the lowbrow joints, the universal joints on the end, are pre-packed with grease, which is really useful, because the last thing you want to do is put too much in so it flails around and makes a complete mess of the engine bay, or too little that the lowbrow joints aren't lubricated properly. So fitting these is quite an easy task. As I said, the fixings are provided, and these are high tensile bolts with rattle-proof washers, but what we also do is we apply Loctite to those threads as well. Now the only enhancement I'm going to make is this lowbrow joint here isn't actually coated with anything, so it's vulnerable to rust. So what I'm going to do is mask that up, give it a spray before we put it on the car. So let's do that first, and let's just get on with it. There we go, you can see the grease in there. So the last thing I want to do is get any paint or anything or contaminants on that, so I have to mask this up very carefully. First of all, I'm going to degrease this edge, and then I'm going to put a slight key on it, mask it up, and then spray. And it doesn't even matter to me where I go. I just feel I need to take a ride. Got my coffee cup to go, and I'm gonna hit the road tonight. Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I go. Right, ready to install the drive shafts. Now we're going to start on the passenger side here, and you can see me feeding that lowbrow joint into that rear upright. Now, there's a lot of grease around here, so it does get a little bit messy, but the key is to get that first bolt in as quickly as you can. Now it looks a bit cat-handed, and that's basically because I'm trying to keep out of the way of the camera for you. So get that first bolt in, and that makes everything a lot easier now. Now you can see the shake-proof washer there just going in. I'll just put an arrow to it so you can see where it is. And that is actually compressed between the head of that bolt and the lowbrow joint. Next, we get the second bolt in. Now I'm going to show you here, I'm putting thread lock onto this. Nice big bottle of thread lock. Had to get it because I'm using tons on this car. Now, putting in the second bolt is a lot easier than the first, but still it needs a little bit of jiggery pokery to get it lined up. And as you can see here, that boot, rubber boot, gets in the way a bit, so you have to sort of pull it back with your other hand. And here, using my ratchet just to get that thread engaged, and then I can spin it up. Pulling them taut, because now I've got two in, I know everything's aligned. In goes number 3. This is the last one I've really got access to with the drive shaft in this orientation. I'll torque these up later to the correct torque, but for now it's just nipping them up. Next, what we're going to do is go to the inside of the drive shaft against the transaxle, and you can see me putting on the Speedo trigger wheel here, lining it up. And what I had to do is compress the drive shaft slightly to get it in the narrow space. You can see how messy my hands are. Right, now these are M10 bolts, they're slightly bigger than the outside ones that are M8, but again, lining the first one up, and then everything gets a lot easier. I had to do a lot of cleaning up here off camera. Number 2 bolt goes in, again thread lock on all of these, and shake-proof washers, you can see there. There's something satisfying putting on these assemblies. Yeah, sorry about my hands are in front of the camera. There we go, just spinning the third one up. Now what I've got to do now is jack the chassis up so the wheel is suspended, as you can see there, so I can rotate the drive shaft to get to the lower 3 holes. And again, I just repeat what I did earlier. You can see them wiping off all the grease. Again, thread lock used on every bolt. And here I am torquing each bolt up in turn. And you can see there the torque ratings that Ultima share on their build portal. Sorry if there's a lot of grunting going on, I don't know why. I think the microphone was a bit close to my mouth when I was tightening these up. And now I'm going to repeat it on the other side. I'm not going to show you me tightening all these up because you can't really see a lot. It's a bit more confined there. And when all those bolts have been torqued to the correct setting, I get my trusty red pen and mark every one in turn. This is just a nice touch because it gives me confidence they've been torqued. Also, I can quickly scan over the engine bay and I can instantly see if anything is loose. Also in the UK, these cars have to go through a test called an IVA, which is to make sure they're roadworthy. And the examiner, when he can see you've gone to this amount of detail, it really shows them the car's been built right. So it helps. And that's it, all done. And there we are, drive shafts installed into the beast. And just look at this. It is just a work of art. It's engineering utopia, and especially if you're a petrol head. I don't want to cover this up. It's just beautiful. Anyway, on to the next job. Now we have the drive shafts in place. Before I fit the exhaust, which is really the next job, what I want to do is I want to plumb the V8 in. And what I mean by that is I want to put the top bottom hose of the cooling system on, the return and the feed for the heater matrix, and also the connections to the air conditioning compressor on the front of the engine. And then over here, you can't quite see it, I have a bag of spaghetti. These are wires that goes to senders, they go to the coil packs, and they need to be neatly routed across this power plant. So without further ado, I think the first thing, what's the first thing I do? I think I'm going to do the cooling system. Now what you see here is part of the kit for the cooling system, the top and the bottom hose, and actually these components are for the bottom hose. And this is why I love building the RS, because everything is provided. The correct angled hoses, the correct joiners that are swaged, and also all the Jubilee clips of the right size. And I promise you, I've built enough kit cars where I've had to hunt around to make these coolant pipes up, and it is so time consuming, but this makes it so easy. Room is so tight. I'm gonna take this header tank off. Okay, just trying to figure out what goes where. Right, cut that shorter. the waterworks are now almost complete. The only thing I've got left to do is to connect the feed and return to the heater matrix, which is these two outlets here. You can see they're slightly different sizes, and these two tubes, 1, 2, come from basically the front of the car, heater matrix, and are threaded along the rear firewall. So what I'm going to do now is bend them around, keep them away from any moving parts, and connect them to these two outlets. So let's go. Wow, that's fine. There you go. That's that one on. This one. Boy. Don't know where to go, under or over. There you go, it wants to do that. So it needs to be cut there. God. Now what we can see here, this is the steam vent, and I don't really just want that going up and down on the bulkhead, so I'm going to put another saddle connector on here. So I'm going to drill through, pop rivet it, and then put it on with a tie. Now I've had to check there's enough clearance here for my pop riveter because it's a bit tight, so that's about the perfect position. Pop through the zip tie. And then push the back of that zip tie around so it's out of sight. Like so. There you go. Yes, she's coming together. This morning I told the missus, I said, we're near the end now. And she was very excited because she's waiting for lots of DIY to be done. But anyway, let's get on with the more important things in life, the RS. Now, as you saw there, now the cooling system is complete. We have the top and bottom hoses all buttoned up. We have the heater, feed and return, and also the steam vent that I forgot earlier, so I just tacked that on the end. So now that system is complete. Next, we focus on the electrics. Now, there's a bag, which I'll show you in a minute, which is down by the side of the engine with basically the engine loom stuffed into it. What I need to do is get the loom out of its little home, its little rat's nest, and connect it up to all the sensors on the engine and gearbox to understand the neatest way of routing this around the engine bay. Now, as I said earlier, we have to be careful of heat sources such as exhaust headers, but first of all, I thought what I'll do is I'll just drape it over the engine and connect everything up. So in my mind, I understand where things go. So let's get over to the RS engine bay again and just start some sparking. So here's the bag. Let's just open this up. So let's have a look what I've got here. Let's acquaint myself with all these wires. Now, to a lot of people, this is really scary, but to be honest, if you watch my previous episodes about wiring the RS, you'll know this is not particularly difficult because everything is labeled. So here, for example, we have oil pressure, that's the sender, and that, whereabouts is that? That's the other side of the engine. So somehow this spur has got to get over to the other side. What else have we got here? Cam position sensor. Okay, that's over the other side as well, which would make sense. Now, interestingly, is a clue here because this has got heat resistant or heat reflective material on it. So this obviously goes near the exhaust. And what else have we got here? We've got coolant temp. Again, that's over the other side. Right. Sort of getting this, understand this in my head. So it looks like to me, this lot goes over the engine. What's this? Alternator. Yeah, that's the other side as well. So this spur, or this lot, goes over the engine, and this spur here, what's this here? Mass air. Okay, so let me come back here and drape it where I think it should go. Now with the loom, it splits into two here. So this is the coil packs. These are the coil packs for this side of the engine, and the rest here are for the other side of the engine. So it must go like that. Okay, here we have the O2 sensor. Now this side, I think the loom, I wonder if it goes under there. Where are the coil packs? These are the coil packs. Go there. That's the coil pack main connector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start connecting some of these connectors just to get an idea of where this needs to go. So what do we have here? Coolant temp, which is this. So let me just plug that in. I'm not too worried about the routing being particularly neat at the moment. This is just getting the wires in the right position. Okay, right, so that's coolant temp. Down here, that's the alternator. You're slack for that. Pop that in. There you go. I think that probably goes like that. And that is oil pressure. That's the knock sensor. No, it's not. Sorry. Oh, it is the knock sensor. Okay, now that goes. That. Talk about plug and play. This is so easy. What's this one here? God. This here is the cam position sensor. Where's that? Don't know where that goes. Oh, it's probably at the front of the engine, isn't it?
Exactly.
I think this has to go back. I think it's down here. I think I remember seeing it when I was doing the engine. Yeah, it's under there, isn't it? It's wow. That's going to take a bit of getting to, but because the wire's there, it means it must be. Ah, there it is. There, I felt it. Sorry if I'm in the way. God, it's like torture. There you go, it's in. Oh, God. Okay, well I can tidy all that up in a minute. Right, now that's the O2 sensor, so I can't do that at the moment. Mass air, that stays over there. Throttle body, that's there. Map, that's there. What's this? Speed sensor. Okay, now that comes down here. On this side we have the mass airflow sensor, which will go here. And this is the O2 sensor. So there you go. That's how it routes. Yes, another episode draws to a close. Part 53 of the RS build has seen spannering, it's seen electrics, and of course installation and final buttoning up of that coolant system. Now, the next episode I'm going to be focusing on tidying up all the wiring and also fitting the high performance exhaust system. And yes, I've opted for an upgrade. Of course I have. I can't help but tick those boxes on the Ultima RS order form. And before I go, just a big shout out for all of you subscribing and all of you putting thumbs up. It helps the channel and ensures I can continue sharing this content with you. So until next time, all I've got to say is keep smiling and happy spannering.